Joining me now to talk about the relationship between the Prime Minister and the U.S. President is CTV News U.S. political analyst Eric Ham. Eric, thanks so much for joining us. What could come out of this really high-stakes meeting between the two leaders?
This is huge. I mean, this is the ball game. We're talking about the United States' biggest trading partner, and we already know that Donald Trump has made it no secret that he wants to see Canada become a subservient part of the United States. Will that happen? Highly unlikely. But given the fact that where we have seen the president since winning the White House and how he has really gone after Canada, and now you've got Prime Minister Carney, who has won a surprise election. The Liberals are back in power. And for the first time, we will see now how Mark Carney really responds, not only to Donald Trump's continued trolling of Canada, but how he actually responds to the man himself being in the White House. Of course, Donald Trump will see that as a place to position himself to lord himself over Mark Carney. We know how Donald Trump likes to be and act like a bully, and so I do believe he will try that. But again, I think this will be a very striking look, particularly given where things stand right now, at least with the ongoing trade war between the two countries.
Now, Eric, I want to throw to a clip of Mark Carney earlier in the week about the relationship, and then I want to get your thoughts on the other side of that. Let's take a listen.
It is a time to be bold, to meet this crisis with overwhelming positive force of a united Canada. Because we are going to build, baby, build.
All right, Eric Ham, my question to you. Sound familiar?
It does. And I think this is really interesting because voters are going to hold Carney accountable, and they will certainly be watching what that meeting looks like between Donald Trump and the Prime Minister. Will he go back to trolling Carney like he did Justin Trudeau, calling him Governor Carney? Or will he see him as an equal? It's unclear what this meeting will look like. But again, I think there's so much on the line and so much at stake, particularly given now that we see that both economies have begun to slow down. Already we see the contraction both in Canada and the United States. There's growing concern about a recession for both. And quite frankly, as much as Donald Trump goes after Canada, what we're seeing right now is both countries need each other. This could be a moment where Donald Trump could actually appeal to his better angels. But what we have seen over and over is Donald Trump is someone who just doesn't have those angels, unfortunately. And so I think that's what makes this meeting even more interesting.
You mentioned the constant trolling that we've heard from Donald Trump, particularly as it relates to former Prime Minister Justin Trudeau and the constant threats toward Canada's sovereignty. But the comment we heard from Trump today that Carney said, quote, "Let's make a deal." Obviously, this will be the first time they're meeting, but what could the parameters of a deal look like where Carney has spent the last few weeks on the campaign trail saying the biggest message here is they are the party to push back against the threats from the Donald Trump administration?
That's a really good question, because even in the wake of his victory, what we heard from him was it sounded as though he and Canada were moving on from the United States. We even know about his meetings with European nations, which actually signaled that this was going to be a break and that the United States was no longer a reliable partner. Will he double down on that in his meeting with Donald Trump? Will Donald Trump double down on continued tariffs and efforts to upend the economic relationship between the two countries? I think what we're seeing here is both men ran on what they want and what they will do, and now both men need to deliver for their respective bases. And I think both bases are going to be watching. And I think the stakes are equally high for both men as they move into this meeting. All eyes certainly will be watching.
All right, according to Donald Trump, this could happen within the week or less. CTV News U.S. political analyst Eric Ham. Always appreciate your time, Eric.